Hello everyone, so this is going to be a video on lists, NumPy arrays, and a short amount on dictionaries. And to learn about these different types of Python programming tools, we're going to take everything that we do in Python and we're going to convert it to something that we do in Excel. And so this is going to be Python to Excel. Now, it's important to note that everything that we can do in Excel spreadsheet, we can also do in Python, but the reverse is not necessarily true. Not everything that we do in Python can be converted to an Excel spreadsheet. And in fact, Python gives us an almost infinite amount of flexibility compared to what we can do in Excel. So Python comes with some basic programming scripting tools. And so for example, in the basic Python programming language, I can say 1 plus 1 equals 2. In the same way, I can go over to my Excel spreadsheet and I can say in an Excel, 1 plus 1 equals 2. And it looks like I'm at the top of this cell, so we'll just do 1 plus 1 equals 2. Now, I can also create some sort of variable and give it a name. Let's call it var, and I can pass it an integer 5, and I can say print that variable var. In the same way in the Excel spreadsheet, I can say let's set the cell at B2 equal to 5, and so now this cell is associated with 5, just like now this variable named var is also associated with 5 in my Jupyter Notebook and Python scripting language. Now, there might be times when I want to collect more than just one number into some sort of variable, and that's where lists come in handy. And so I can create some sort of list A, and I can pass it a collection of numbers, in this case integers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I could say print A. And so that's like coming in the Excel spreadsheet, going 1, 2, 3, 4, and saying that this list of 4 numbers are now collected and they're all assigned to this name A. Now, lists also allow me to collect unlike things. For example, if I wanted to collect a list of, say, string, and a second list of integers, so let's say 5, 6, 7, 8, and I wanted to combine these two lists into one list, I can do that with a second set of brackets. So now this is a list made up of one list string and a second list 5, 6, 7, and 8. If I print B, there's now 2 lists associated with the single list, all called B. You can imagine that I can also add a second list, again, of unequal type. So in this case, instead of integers, I'm going to give it type float. Now I have a list of 3 things, all with unequal length. And so if I were to do that in my Excel spreadsheet, what I might see is I have some sort of list B that's associated with a string. It's also associated with a second list, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 32.2 and 64.4. And you can see that there's not a one-to-one matching between what I'm doing in Python and what I'm doing in Excel. But these 3 lists are now associated with this single list B. Now, what if I wanted to access a few numbers that are in these lists? So for example, what if I wanted to access this number 2 in list A? Well, each of these numbers in this list, or every component in the list, is associated with an index. And I'm going to bold the index numbers. And so indices in Python start at 0, and they basically go through the list, the length of the list minus 1. So in this case, there's 4 elements in this list. And so the indices are going to be numbered from 0 to 4 minus 1, which equals 3. So if I want to access that number 2, then I'm going to go to list A, and I'm going to go to index 1. And so how I go to A at index 1 is I use another set of brackets, and that will return 2. Now it's a little bit more complicated in this list B, because now I have 3 lists, and then within those lists I also have indices associated with it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to label each of these lists with their own index, and each of the items in the list will get a second index. So I wanted to access string, I would say go to B and go to index 0, that's the first list, and it's going to return string. If I wanted to access 5, 6, 7, 8, I would say go to B and then go to list 1, which is associated with 5, 6, 7, 8. And finally, let's say I wanted to access a number in this list, let's say 7. Then I'm going to have to give it a second index, so I'm going to say go to B, access that list 1, and then also access, and that 7 is located at index 2. And that's going to return 7. Now, you have to be careful because in this case, these 3 lists are combining unlike things of unlike lengths. So for example, I have a string, I have 5, 6, 7, 8, which is associated with 4 numbers that are all integers. And now then I have a list of 2 numbers that are associated with floats. So for example, if I wanted to say go to list 2, it'll return that list of 2 floats, but if then I wanted to say access index 3, it's going to say list index out of bounds, and that's because this actually only has length 2. It does not have length 4 like 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can't go to this list and try to access 3 because it'll go to this sort of number here, and there won't be anything because that thing is not 4 long, it's only 2 long.